Hello, all participants of the conference. I'm Michael Steidl, leading the IPTC Photo Metadata Working Group together with David, and we both are involved in IPTC Photo Metadata since 2004. Prior to Brendan, I've been the managing director of IPTC too. Okay. Today, I'll point at a problem based on software we have heard about from many photo businesses since 2004. And as Jan just mentioned today, also today. And I'll introduce you to a way for finding out facts regarding this issue. Some of them may be not nice. But this can help to communicate this issue with the maker of your software and help to solve the problem. So let's talk about the interoperability of software used for photo metadata. Okay, to mention also my outlook, I'm a male person. I have gray hair and gray beard, and I'm using glasses. And today I'm wearing a blue and red checkered shirt. Come on, dear. Okay, so this will raise the question for some of you, what is interoperability at all? And if my software has interoperability, what is that good for? Okay, let's dive into the metadata C and its photo metadata B. David has used this graphic already. And as you may assume, we from IPTC explore the bay quite frequently. And so we figured out, what are these 4 islands there? The first one stands for the home base of photograph of a photo. That means a photographer or a photo company with a focus on we take photos. The next island is the island of agencies and supplier. So the guys distributing the photos. And then the next island are the online publishers. Well, publishers in general, but a focus on online publishers. And the last island are the viewers. So the guys looking at websites and seeing their photos. Okay, there are the 4 islands. And there is a flow of photos from the home base to the agencies, to the suppliers, next to the publishers, and finally to the viewers. And as the metadata are embedded into the image files, also the metadata flow along these red arrows. The goal of a photo metadata flow across the islands is no photo metadata values should get lost. Okay, that's the goal. And how can the IPTC standard help there? What does the IPTC standard stands for? Example, if you record Jean Darcy as the creator of the image, you can expect a party receiving the image is able to get, yes, Jean Darcy is the creator of the image. And if you read the value of date created, you can be sure that this is the date of the day and possibly the time when the image was taken. The IPTC standard provides means to properly communicate between different parties in a workflow. This is what our standard stands for. And to make this happen, the parties and the software have to follow the standard. That's an explicit requirement. At this point, I have to raise a warning. Our prior discussion about accessibility field was assuming this workflow. A photographer or a photo agency writes and embeds an alt text value in an image file. And a software generating web pages, a CMS, as Janusz has just mentioned, reads the alt text from the image file and embeds it into the HTML. But unfortunately, this does not work in all cases. Software generating web pages may not find any embedded text. This value may have got lost. And that's exactly the issues we hear since 2004. We have a wonderful workflow. We have a wonderful supply chain, but somewhere in this supply chain, metadata values get lost. Okay, let's have a look at the role of software in the photo metadata flow. You see there are boxes representing software, pieces of software used by different parties, by the photographer, the agency, the supplier, by an online publisher, and finally the CMS used on a website. What's the challenge they are facing? Is the software used by the photographer, ABC, able to embed photo metadata as standardized? So not as they like, but as the IPTC standard defines, giving the next software, EFG, a chance to read it. Is the next software, EFG, able to read standardized photo metadata or not? Is the next software in this workflow, KLM, able to keep photo metadata fields alive? It does not know. I will show you examples for that. So there may be a software saying, I don't know this metadata field for some reason. Maybe they only know the IPTC Photo Metadata Standard of 2010 and something added since then. Maybe the just new alt text is not known to the software, and they say, okay, I kick it off. And finally, look at the more publishing leg of the workflow. Is the software used by the online publisher and the software XYZ used on a website making image files slim for a very fast web delivery? But for this purpose, it removes the photo metadata without further ado. We make it slim. That's a big feature. But photo metadata are killed. Okay, IPTC claims software must be interoperable. In our sense, software interoperability means reading embedded photo metadata must comply with the IPTC and the EXIF specifications. In this claim, we include also EXIF because EXIF is actually in the workflow the very first part of photo metadata generated by a camera and then handed over to a software for editing photo metadata, and many pieces of software read EXIF metadata and synchronize it with IPTC values. Read values should be shown with labels aligning with the IPTC definition, because labels define how a field could be used, and if this is completely different from the IPTC definition, users are misled. Writing, which means also embedding edit or edited photo metadata, must comply with the IPTC and EXIF specifications. If read metadata property values have not been edited, the values must not be changed or removed by the software. This includes keeping unknown properties untouched, what I just mentioned before. Therefore, by our understanding, interoperability means a proper communication. Okay, IPTC claims what should be the case, but how to check what is the case with my software? How can I check if the claims are fulfilled or not? And that's exactly the feature of our new interoperability tests. To verify if a software is interoperable, IPTC has defined 3 tests, and with a rich documentation, you see there the header of that to the right, with a rich documentation including step-by-step guides for running the tests. And we have just launched a website for running 2 tests online. The tests are: test number 1, do field labels align to the IPTC definition of its use? Test number 2, does the software read and write embedded metadata correctly? Test number 3, which IPTC fields are supported by the software at all and which not? Okay, let's have a look at the rich documentation. Let's dive into the reality of this text. Okay, so you see there the test page, interoperability tests page. First, you have an introduction to the interoperability understanding of IPTC, so what I've just explained now. Then the 3 tests are introduced. And then for each of the tests, there is the same structure. First, it explains the issue. Why is it relevant to test this thing? The fields label aligning with the IPTC definition. Okay, the next part is a test outline. How is that tested? Then you have a test procedure step by step. And finally, you get then a result from this test, of course, what IPTC expects as a test result. So you are not left alone with the results and say, okay, wonderful, I see a big table of data. How to interpret that? No, we have also expectations. So what we think should be the result. Okay, so test number 1 is about field labels aligned to the definition. Even if you click there on test procedure step by step, you have there a very granular explanation of it. So the first one is download the IPTC reference image file. It looks like that. So actually it's not really a photo, it's a graphic also showing what IPTC standard is covered by that. But the magic of this image file is each and every IPTC photo metadata property defined by this version of the standard is filled with a value. Okay, so the goal is download this file, load and import it into your to-be-tested software, and then look at all the labels there you see and compare it with with the specification. So I've made there an example of that. So as just explained, load the reference image and compare the labels. So the result may be, you see there a screenshot of such a metadata panel on the right-hand side. Labels being okay, wonderful. All the ones with the green box are okay. Labels are not telling exactly the same. So the headline and the header, well, not exactly the same, but not very far away. But labels may be also completely different. So it's called job ID, and the label is linked to origin. That's really bad because this, as I said before, is misleading the user. And another option is old IAM fields, which are not supported by IPTC standard anymore since 2004, they may still appear there. And this may be misleading because some use it, some don't use it. Is this good for interoperability? We don't know. Okay, this is test number 1. Now let's have at the website again a look for test number 2. Okay, here we are. Let's have a look again at the explanation. Test number 2. Does the software read and write embedded metadata correctly? How should the test be done? So again, download the IPTC standard reference image. This is this image with all the metadata properties populated by a value. Then create a copy of that and load it and ingest it into your to be tested software. Change the values of some fields. So simply edit. You see the preset values, say, okay, I wipe it out and write there something else down. Okay, good. We recommend having a look at 6 different properties because you can have the special result for them. Okay, then finally save this loaded image file. This may require an export action, and then go to the IPTC Metadata Interoperability site. Okay, here we are. There you have the single page, and you can use it for uploading your image and testing it. Select your local image test file. You see there a button in German, because as you may have noticed, I'm not a German native speaker. I'm an Austrian living in Vienna, and therefore it shows this button in German. Okay, let's select a file. And I've prepared, there's some examples already. Okay, so I've prepared an image where the description has been edited. For test 2, description edited. Then you select which test should be run. Test number 2, yes, wonderful. And for test number 2, you can select one of these 6 properties which are named in the guideline. Say, okay, I've changed the description, also named caption, and now I do the test. And this is running now really in real time, so there's nothing prepared. This image file is now tested, and you get the result. In the upper region, in the blue region, it is explained what you see there in the white region. You can read that in detail. I give a short introduction. You get there a block for any changed property. First, it says, how is this different? It tells you in the test image, XMP and IAM value was changed. Okay, good. What property was changed? IPTC property label, description. Okay, XMP and IAM, also okay. Then it tells you what was the value in the reference image. This was the value, the description, aka caption. And the test image, so this image file which has been uploaded has the value, the description was edited. So it gives a very granular response. So not only has been changed, it also tells you what has been found, what was the original value, what value has been found in this test image. Okay, let's have a look at other examples. This may be the case. You have also changed with your software the description. Now you look at that and say, okay, I hope everything is fine. Come on. Sorry, I was a little bit too quick. Okay, here we are. Now it tells the test image, the XMP value has changed, but not the IAM value. And actually, this is a very bad case, because if your software is doing that, and so you have an image which already has a description and say, no, I have to change the description, and you change it, and then you hand it over to the next party in your workflow. The next party has suddenly two different descriptions, one in XMP and one in IAM. And the next party will raise the question, oh, which one is the right one? Which one is the correct one? So this identifies a really bad case of not interoperability. The next example. Again, the description has been edited. Okay, let's test it. There it says, wonderful, the description XMP has changed, but there are two other notices there. Test image, XMP value is missing. Remember, they are all IPTC properties filled with a value, and in the test image, this property has not a value. The all text has no value, and the extended description has no value. So this may be such a software which is ignoring new properties or ignoring properties which is not known to this software. So maybe there is a version 2020 of a software which is not aware of the new all text and extended descriptions. And they read it, say, I don't know that, so I kick it out. This must not be the case, dear software makers. Okay. Another example, the image creator. The image creator is a structure. It consists of the image creator name and the image creator identifier. Let's look at the result. It shows there, therefore, two boxes, two result blocks. The first one talks about the image creator ID, and the second one talks about the image creator name. So if you check the image creator, all its sub-properties are checked, not only the image creator as a whole, each sub-property. So if you have edited only the creator name, this would be shown. The creator ID would not have been changed and would not have been shown as changed there in the results. Yeah, and also not nice things may happen. So you may do also something like that. You throw this IPTC reference image into a workflow, and then finally you check what is the status of the metadata at the end. So maybe at the moment when you want to upload it into your image web CMS. Okay, you say, okay, I don't know, I have not changed anything, but I want to check this result image. And that suddenly tells, oh, the credit line does not exist in IAM, but the XMP value is still there. So there was some software which doesn't like the IAM credit field and has removed it. So you have a clear and explicit record of this bad behavior. Okay, a lot of test number 2s. Let's also have a look at test number 3. Sorry, again, the introduction of that. What does the test number 3 do? Which IPT fields are supported by the software and which not? Because sometimes people say, I don't know exactly what is supported by the software. How can I see? How can I find it out? What this software supports in terms of IPTC photo metadata. Okay. The test procedure tells download the IPTC no metadata image file. What's that? That's an image file with guaranteed not a single piece of metadata in it. So completely empty, completely native. Okay. What should you do with that? Load it into your to-be-tested software, go to the metadata panels, and fill in a value for any shown field and, if available, subfields. So what I mentioned, there are some structured IPTC properties like the image grader where you have a name and an identifier. Then please fill in the name and the identifier of the image grader. Okay, and then after all shown fields have been filled in, save the metadata to this downloaded loaded image file, which initially had no metadata. Save it, and then it should have exactly the metadata you have just filled in. Go to the IPTC Interoperability site. Okay, sorry, here we are. I've also prepared some examples with real existing software. I don't tell you what software has been used for that. Okay, but it's a quite commonly used software there. So what are the results there? You have to select the file, you have to say test number 3, and you have to press the test button. And there you get a long result table because all the IPTC properties, currently 58 properties with all subfields are listed there. Therefore, it's a quite long list. And so it has the labels at the names at the different levels. So at the top level, then if it has a sub property, the name of the sub property, registration entry has an organization ID and an item ID. Okay. So all the names, and then comes the column XMP value. It shows, has an XMP value be found in this test image file? And the next column is about the IAM value. The same, has a value been found? The good result is a green background, a value has been found. Wonderful. And if XMP and IAM values are specified, the values are also compared. And the good result is they are in sync. So XMP and IAM holds exactly the same value. So let's have a look at this software. Okay, there are some properties missing. You see, they're an interesting result. The intellectual genre has also the subject code has an XMP value, but not an IAM value, not an IAM value. Therefore, it also shows not in sync. The image region is completely missing. Okay, that's not a big problem because actually you need some special software to define an image region. The embedded encoded writes, this is also something which should be filled by software. But there you have some, for instance, linked encoded writes expression is not supported. And also in the location, the identifier in the name of the location is not supported. And some more properties are in the artwork. So apparently this is a software supporting only IPTC Photo Metadata up to 2014, not earlier. Okay, let's have a look at a different piece of software and its result. Software number 2, test number 3. Come on. Okay. Interesting. XMP is found. IAM is missing. XMP is found. IAM is missing. XMP is found. IAM is missing. You scroll down. There is not a single IAM value in this software. So apparently this software is ignoring IAM. Now you know exactly if somebody is complaining, I don't get an IAM value for the IPTC metadata, then it's clear the software doesn't support that. And finally, a third piece of software, test number 3. Okay, you see there a lot of green fields. Okay, the image region is also not in it, but you see there a lot of green fields. And fortunately, if you scroll up and down and check, all the values are in sync except the country code. Interesting, I don't know why. So all the XMP and IAM values are in sync, but the poor country code is not. Okay, also there, the intellectual genre and subject code. Apparently there are some candidates for missing IAM values, because also in the other software which by principle supports IAM, also these IAM values are missing. So you can have the interesting result, and what you can do by that, you can say, okay, I want to document that. So you can say the press and say, I want to create a PDF file from that, and then you can send it to your software maker and complain, why is the country code in your software in IAM missing? Could you please fix that? Okay, wonderful, thank you. Okay, this only shows by principle what exists and what has been found and what not. But there we have also another side where you can read and display all the values. This is the get IPTC Photo Metadata site. You may say, that exists already since a couple of years. That's true, but we have just refurbished it. You see, this is the 21 version, which was also launched yesterday and shows there some interesting ways of displaying results. So you can select there some a software, an image with some data in it. Okay, then you can say there, show if it has a value or no value. And there it also shows, like in this result page of a test number 3. So you have it there as a table, and there you see all the values. So actually the data are more or less the same, but there you see the value, what exists in this image and what not. And you can also check if something has been edited by you. You see there also all the values which has been embedded. So you can check there, has really the value I typed in been saved? So this is the value comparison. You can claim I have put there in each of the properties a code for me, a personal code. And then you can check, is in all the populated fields my personal code? And it also show what is not able. But if you say, no, I don't want to like this very rich presentation, I say there only, if it has a value, then it shows there only a slim result of that. So actually that's exactly the same as before, but in the old version, you had there for the city, you had the 2 rows, one for the XMP value and one for the IAM value. This has been now merged into a single row, and it shows a value for city legacy is available in XMP and IAM, and they are in sync, and that's the value of this property. That was a test image. Okay, therefore maybe a little bit strange values, but that's exactly the more merged, more simple to view result of the new IPTC get IPTC site. So we invite you actually to use both for your testing. This is if you want to look into an image file, do it with this tool there. And if you want to check if it fulfills IPTC interoperability expectations, then do it with this site. You are welcome. Okay, I'm quite at my time. I said it should be 35 minutes. So open to your questions. Maybe Brandon, you can moderate a little bit what has income as in terms of questions.
Sure. There haven't really been any questions directly. There's been people saying this is great, which I think is very good feedback. But does anyone have any specific questions for Michael? If someone wants to ask a question by audio, you can put up your hand and I can allow you to speak for a moment as well, if you like. No. Okay, well, let's leave it there. So thanks very much, Michael.
Well, only to mention, because Janusz mentioned that for the techies among us, this site is based on Node.js, and the code is written in TypeScript and is using EXIF tool as the reader of the metadata, and then the resulting JSON is converted and displayed. So no big magic, it works quite well. Okay, and thank you all.
Just to be very clear, the new EXIF tool, the latest version of EXIF tool actually supports our new accessibility fields that we've just added. So Phil Harvey, the maintainer of EXIF tool, was very kind to implement those fields straight away. So it was really very useful. Great. So yeah, the comments are no questions, just very excited, really useful. So that's great. Thanks very much, Michael.